What is up, guys? It is the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back to bring you 40 facts on the Warhammer 40k universe. Today we are starting back up again by covering your very own fan lore, and today we've got an amazing one to cover. This one was sent to us by Kieran, and it is just an amazing lore. You could just see all the dedication, the hard work, all the thinking and the planning behind his chapter. His chapter being the Azure Covenant. Now this is a fan dex that he sent over to us that literally uses the brand spanking new Primaris Space Marines. So if you guys really enjoy Space Marines, more so Primaris, this will be an amazing video to cover. Again, guys, if you guys want to send us your own fan lore, send it on over to our Facebook page. That's probably the easiest way to get in contact with us, and it'll be the easiest way for us to kind of see what fan chapters you guys have sent us. So again, guys, fan chapters are being covered once again, and this one is just so epic, so awesome, that most likely this will be a two-parter. So again, a huge thank you to Kieran for sending us his chapter on the Azure Covenant. Really epic. I mean, I can't really stress it enough. It's amazing. So without further ado, here are 40 facts on the Azure Covenant. The 41st millennium is an age of ignorance and darkness, as well as dangers and secrets. Searching for these are the Azure Covenant, Primarch Guilliman's Primaris Space Marines, who are possessed by the desire to discover the mysteries of this darkest of galaxies. Forged from secret gene seed and tempered in terrible battles, the Azure Covenant know that their lives are forfeit from the moment they join this insular chapter. But what they discover before their deaths may very well change the Imperium forever. Though these Astartes are few, they are mighty, and their sorcery, arms, and commitment to victory may make them heroes of the Imperium. The Azure Covenant is formed out of the Primaris Marines of the Ultima founding, and the unique nature of this covenant means that they stand apart from their transhuman comrades. This psychically talented chapter used their warp abilities to tear apart the enemies of the Emperor. No one is sure where these incredible abilities come from. Even their founder, Magos Dominus Belisarius Cawl, claims to have forgotten their true origins. However, this covenant does not fight alone. Strange creatures, known as the Prey's Wardens, monitor them, bringing them Mechanicum weapons to fight alongside the Space Marines. Very little is known for sure about the origins of the Azure Covenant, and some even claim that those stories could very well be a mixture of falsehood. Officially, the Azure Covenant was founded during the early years of Roboute Guilliman's Indomitus Crusade, as the Empyrean storm of the Great Rift split the galaxy in two, severing the Imperium. The Primarch of the Ultramarines set out to bring hope back into this darkness of pure and utter chaos. With him, he took tens of thousands of Space Marines, awoken from their gene forges, known as the Primaris. The Crusade had been battling through the galaxy for almost a quarter century before it came upon the Germanian system within the Segmentum Solar. In one of these rare meetings between the Primarch and the Tech Magos Belisarius Cawl, the Ark ship Zar Caesitor and the Macrag's Honor rendezvoused above the world of Germania Dio. Together, the two battled a great chaotic host, the unnumbered sons of the Primarch fighting alongside Cawl's Skitarii legions to free this planet from the renegade Bloody Howlers. These heretic Astartes were a fractured remnant of the once loyal Agent Avengers chapter. Guilliman's legions cut down these traitors and their damned allies, reclaiming this planet for the Imperium. Upon landing on the planet, Guilliman and Cawl revealed to the world of Germania Dio that they had an isolated gene lab where new Primaris Marines were being developed over the millennia. The two mighty warriors spoke for quite some time. However, Guilliman ended up storming out of the conclave in a fury. The Lord Protector did not speak to the Mago Cawl for quite many days, until, finally, he left. The last message that Guilliman gave Cawl before leaving was simple. This time, but never again. Control them, or they will be put to the sword. This is my promise. The Mago subsequently then spent months with his menials awakening the Primaris Marines from this planet and creating them into the Azure Covenant. They were told that they were successors to the Great Vulcan and that they owed their lineage to the brave warriors of this legion. Their lack of darkened skin was explained as being born far away from the radiation-blasted Nocturne, and that their new equipment precluded the use of any of their fabled artificial skills. Unfortunately, this was only the beginning of the lies that were being weaved into the lore of this chapter. From the Imperium's perspective, there was one more detail which troubles many more of the Puritan ideologies amongst both the Imperium and the Inquisition. Cawl's stabilization of the Primaris gene seed has allowed the implantation within female aspirants. This unsanctioned experiment, justified in terms of doubling the number of potential initiates, and which has been widely successful, it allowed the Covenant to replace its battle losses far faster and with a higher success rate than other single-gendered chapters. The Azure Covenant's remarkably high casualty rate would have severely weakened any other Space Marine unit, but the Covenant stays at battle strength with relative ease, due to its wider recruitment pool. They had found aspirants suitable to be Marines at more than twice the ratio of other chapters. While this chapter isn't really blessed with any particular skill in Artifice beyond the normal transhuman skills, they are very much blessed with psychic abilities. The Covenant has more psychers and a larger librarium than any other chapter. So abundant are these librarians that some say that it is the gene seed itself which helps their psychic abilities to develop. Some others theorize that it is the unrestricted research that the Covenant allows into matters of the warp, which then the mutation of their neophytes helps them become full-fledged psychers. To any outsider looking in, this is very, very strange, and it does lead to suspect that it is a very dark truth behind this legion. I mean, after all, there was only one ancient Astartes legion famous for its psychers, and it was not the Salamanders. The organization of this Covenant is as unique as its gene seed. This division of forces was first devised by the original chapter regent, Magos Dominus Cawl, and this force was organized to be based on the Salamander's 7 great companies. However, it bears very little relationship to their alleged forebearers. The Azure Covenant is divided into 9 Athenaeums, each commanded by the dual lexicon of a captain and a librarius epistolary. This unified command structure is then supported by more conventional elements, such as the Apothecarian and the Armory commanded by Tech Marines. Now, each Athenaeum has a different focus. For example, the first Athenaeum is the Veteran Formation, where those who have long experienced battles have graduated into their time from other Athenaeums. For example, this formation is mostly composed of those surviving Primaris from the first Awoken ones from Cawl and Guilliman. The 2nd to 5th Athenaeums are battle line companies, each a mix of intercessors, hellblasters, and reavers. The 6th, 7th, and 8th Athenaeums are made up of fast attack elements of the chapter, consisting of squads of 9 interceptors. Each Athenaeum is 9 squads strong for a total combat strength of 81 interceptors, and they are known as the Terrorborn, as they focus on raiding tactics. It is also important to point out that the 7th Athenaeum is damned, for they have had their minds scourged and lobotomized by the Prey's discipline. Now, this is normally the smallest company, and its complement is dependent on those who have experienced the brutality of the Prey's recomposition process. While many of those who have suffered through this were once psychers of Librarius, by the time they reach the damned 7th, they are fit for nothing more than intercessor line squads, led by an officer experienced in leading these damned warriors into battle. This is when they begin to fight in a robotic manner, and they are often deployed into positions that any other Astartes would deem suicidal. Surprisingly though, the damned 7th has a 100% casualty rate. Very few survive more than a half dozen battles. And finally, the 9th Athenaeum is made up of recruits and training overseers. Men and women taken from the great recruiting fairs across Germania are tested for their skills and talents, and those who demonstrate that the mind and body is of powerful descent, then they are ready to become neophytes and begin their transformation into Space Marines. The Obliteratus Discipline. There is no debate over the level of psychic mastery which the Azure Covenant can demonstrate. While some first founding chapters, such as the Blood Angels or the Ultramarines, may claim to have more famous or powerful psychic individuals, the sheer number and variety of powers which the Covenant manifests is almost unique in the Imperium. With their stabilized gene seeds seeming to create even more psychers for each generation of aspirants, it is believed that some in the Covenant are even more powerful than those gifted Marines and Initiates. Debates still rage over whether this could be the Covenant's salvation or their doom. Fury's Bolt. This is when the Librarian conjures up a lance of pure energy and then hurls it like a spear at their enemy. The next ability is known as Judgment's Focus. The gaze of the Librarian crackles as they focus their hate upon a nearby enemy, finding them wanting in the light of the Emperor. Regain's Boon. The Librarian directs the warp fire into weapons for their allies, causing them to crackle and spit terrible energies. Hero's Courage. Directing a pillar of energy upon a champion in the ranks, the Psyker fortifies their body and inspires them to heights of courage and skill. Warp-born Terror. Probing their minds, the Librarian finds the enemy's greatest fear and causes them to be assailed by visions of that fear. And finally we have Sundered Reality. Summoning all of their might, the Librarian uses their will to tear apart the laws of physical space, allowing for a devastating vortex to form and destroy any and all foes in its path. Now these guys, since they're so powerful in being psychers, they not only have the Obliteratus Discipline, they can also call upon the Clipium Discipline. So let's dive into those psychic abilities, beginning with Veiling Shapes. This is where the Librarian summons up the spectral ghosts of the chapter's fallen, wreathing those still living in protective clouds of shadow. Such strange manifestations foil even an experienced marksman's accuracy. The Whispering Prophecy. The flow of time is meaningless in this realm of energy. Sometimes a skilled warrior prophet can read the flow of this energy to gain an advantage by peering into the future. Shimmering Storm. While the Azure Covenant knows how to shape the energy of the warp into destructive power, they also know how to wield it in a protective wall against the enemies of the chapter. The Commune. Though dangerous to seek out, there are manifestations of positive feelings within the warp. A skilled psyker can commune with those feelings, allowing it to fill and empower them to fight longer and harder. Blessed Relief. Biomancy can help a wounded Marine recover from wounds which would impair their combat abilities, or even in extreme circumstances, their lives. Firestorms. Warp fire can protect as well as kill, threatening those who are far too close. The fire worms its way into the enemy's weapons, threatening to engulf them even as they fight. And now that we covered the psychic disciplines for this chapter, let's go into the units that make this chapter unique. And let's begin by taking a look into the Damned Intercessors. Those members of the Azure Covenant who fall afoul of the Praise Wardens are doomed. If they are not killed immediately, these unfortunate souls will be taken deep into the Forge at the heart of the Azure's fortress, and held there to undergo a procedure that only the Praise Suzerain knows the full details of. When the Astartes returns, they are no longer the person they were. It does not matter whether the victim of a Naviate Librarian, a squad sergeant, or an Athenaeum captain with decades of experience, all return the same. Very little remains of their personality, just automatic impulses and a will to agree with orders. These damned intercessors have had their armor painted bone white, and are equipped with identical death masks to show that they are no longer members of the Covenant. They are nothing more than the walking dead. No one is to speak to them. because they will not reply except to agree with their orders. They do not recognize their old friends, comrades, histories, or seem to know anything about themselves. Even their names are gone. Damned intercessors are assigned their death numbers when inducted into the Seven. For these members, death does not take long. Perhaps only a few survive a half-dozen battles. The Praise Wardens. Prey Wardens are not Astartes, but biomechanical constructions of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are placed as guards for the Azure Covenant, and they are indeed metallic horrors, a mass of tentacle limbs, spiked talons, and strange weapons mounted from their shoulders or other limbs. Even those who work closely with the Mechanicum would recoil in horror at the sight of one of these wardens. In battle, the Praise watch the Azure Covenant and the enemy in equal measure. When a Psyker from the Covenant is threatened by the demons within the warp, the weapons of the Praise will save their soul before the demons can take it. These same weapons are turned upon the enemy as well. Volkite blasters, plasma culverins, and Foster blasters tear through all enemy like paper. Despite the hatred of the Covenant hold for them, the Praise's heavier weapons can win longer firefights where the Primaris Marines might have been at a disadvantage. These are the Praise Wardens, as mysterious as they are powerful. And the final unit that we will be covering today is the Primaris Lentecessor. Lentecessor are members of the First Athenaeum who are not equipped with aggressor armor. They are veterans of the many wars of the Azure Covenant, and some might even be the original group of Primaris Marines awoken by Belisarius' call a century ago. These Astartes are hardened and experienced, and even by the standards of Primaris, they have survived hundreds of battles, dozens of campaigns, and have been smelt in the furnace of wars for all these past years. To honor their survival, they are awarded the Crux Terminatus, the mark of a veteran, and are given a master-crafted chainsword. Lentecessors are expected to be bodyguards to commanders or heavy assault infantry, leading a charge of intercessors to overwhelm a defensive line, or to support their comrades where the fighting is usually the thickest. In those swirling melee, their experiences and reflexes can make the difference between victory and defeat. The Lentecessors have therefore been given a nickname, the Guardians. In a chapter with no chaplains, spiritual guidance is passed down between generations of intercessors, each watching the younger members of their covenant for ability or deviance. Some will try to counsel those thought to be under the threat of the Praise. Many lives have been saved, though they can only speculate as to how many. And with that being said, guys, this is where I will end part 2 to this awesome fan chapter. Once again, guys, I do want to say that this is only the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more to explore, so much more to dive into, so I definitely recommend you guys go down into the description and check out the link to this awesome chapter. More so, you can even play this chapter on the battlefield. You've got points, you've got abilities, you've got stratagems, warlord traits. Everything has been systematically thought out to become as realistic as the codex as possible. So again, all this credit, all this admiration goes directly to you, Kieran. Awesome work, great job working on your fan chapter, and it really shines among all these past fan chapters that we've covered. So again, guys, let him know what you guys think about this fan chapter of Primaris that are very secretive. Sit tight, we've got more lore coming your way, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. This is the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll be catching you guys tomorrow.